सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. So we have been seeing that Bhagwan Krishna is trying to persuade Arjuna to fight this Dharma Yuddha, and to convince him he is doing that at different levels. And first he took up the philosophical level called the Adhyatmika Drishti, by which he elaborately discussed Atma Anatma Viveka. He told Arjuna that there is no question of anyone killing anyone here, because everyone's reality is the Atma, and Atma is immortal. The physical body is mortal. So this Atma is never mortal and body is ever mortal. So a person who owns up the immortality of the Atma and knows it as one's real self and accepts the mortality of the body is a wise man. That person is a jnani. So here Bhagavan is trying to make Arjuna see this fact that Bhishma and Drona's bodies are mortal, and if he accepts this fact, he is not going to experience any grief. After explaining the philosophical level properly, then Bhagavan comes down to the dharmic drishti, that is the ethical or the moral view, by which he tells Arjuna that it is your duty, it is your swadharma as a Kshatriya to fight this war. This is a duty of a Kshatriya to remove adharma from the society for the well-being of other people. He has to restore dharma here. Now, it's not just about himself, but all the people over here are suffering because of Duryodhana's atrocities, and he has to, as it is his duty to remove adharma from the society. So this is his duty, and when it comes to a ruler removing adharma, it is not a problem. Actually, Dharma Shastra, which Arjuna knew very well and he always kept speaking about, does say that ahimsa paramo dharma, that non-violence is a value which everybody has to follow, but this is not applicable to a ruler. And every rule, every law has an exception, because Dharma Shastra itself says that dharma has to be interpreted in a given situation. There will be exceptions everywhere. Like a doctor, when he sees the report of his patient, knows now there is very little time left for this person, but he sees the anxiety-ridden face of that person, then he says, you don't worry, everything is going to be fine, you will be okay. So that is actually, not the truth. That is, Satyam is one of the values given in the Dharma Shastra, that we have to follow Satyam, truthfulness, we have to live a truthful life. But here it means the well-being of that person. So the doctor wants him to live whatever time is left over here happily, positively. This is very important. So this is an exception to that rule which is given in the Dharma Shastra, Or we can take example like, we all are supposed to pay our taxes, but sometimes the government itself gives certain exemptions to some people. There is an exception to that rule. Or we are supposed to follow the traffic rules, which is our duty, but there are exceptions to that rule. There are certain vehicles which are exempted from that rule, like the ambulance is exempted from that rule, the president's vehicle is exempted from the rule. Actually, for the ambulance, we should pull up our vehicle on the side, but problem is we are stuck here in this traffic, Indian traffic, we only can't move even if we want to move, but in the West they do that. They pull up their vehicle on the side, if an ambulance is coming. But for the president's vehicle, we are made to stand on the side, we are made to pull our vehicle on the side. So these are exceptions to the rule, and Dharma Shastra says that there are exceptions over here. So for a Kshatriya, Bhagwan is trying to tell him that you have to do this, you have to fight this war from the point of view of Swadharma. And a Kshatriya has to remove adharma from the society first by trying to convert, the change and reform the adharmic people here, And if they do not change, then they will have to be punished. And at times the punishment is capital punishment also, And in the earlier days, a Kshatriya eliminated such people from the society. He was allowed to do that. It was his duty actually to do that. So, this maintaining the law and order was the department of a Kshatriya, which today the police is doing over here, And we are not supposed to, everybody is not supposed to maintain law and order over here, If I catch a thief, then I must hand over the thief to the police righteously and not start punishing him like people do here, because they don't have trust and faith on the police, so they start sorting out the person themselves. If a person dies in the hospital, then their relatives, they start beating up the doctor because they think it is the negligence of the doctor, If I take the law and order in my hand, then the law can punish me. So in the earlier days, in the Vedic times, the society ran quite smoothly and harmoniously because the entire society was divided into 4 varnas. The Brahmanas, they studied the scriptures and they taught the scriptures. And if they had studied Ved Purva, then they conducted the rituals, the pujas in the temples. The Kshatriyas maintained the law and order in the society. And the Vaishyas, they took care of the economy and saw to it that they could provide everything what people needed. And the Shudras did the labor work. And everybody was respected equally. There was no superiority and inferiority there at that time. All this problem came down later because of misunderstanding, and it was, our religion was, shamed because of this. So Bhagwan is telling Arjuna that as from the point of view of the dharmic drishti, you have to fight this war. You can't waver from your duty. This is an opportunity which you have to take actually as a blessing. Like during the freedom struggle, a lot of our people fought for the freedom which we are enjoying today, and so many of them went to the jail for which they were glorified, and till date, we bow our heads down to those people for that noble act of theirs. Otherwise, going to the jail is a black mark, a bad name for that person. So here, this opportunity which has come towards Arjuna's way, this is not a problem which Arjuna is thinking. Arjuna is considering this as adharma, which is not a fact. And Bhagwan is trying to convince him that this is dharma. You have to fight this war from the point of view of your duty. So further he says, we will read. It is shloka number 32. यद्रच्छया चोपपन्नम् स्वर्गद्वारमपावृतम् Sukhina Kshatriya Partha Labhante Yuddhamidrisham Yadrachaya means by chance. Cha upapannam, and it has come your way. Swargadwaram, the gateway of heaven. Apavritam, opened. So this chance has come your way, which is actually going to lead you to an open gateway of heaven. Sukhina Kshatriya Partha. Arjuna, such a Kshatriya is Sukhina. In this context, Sukhina means fortunate, lucky. Such a Kshatriya is very lucky. Labhante Yuddha Midrisham. This kind of a Yuddha has come to you by chance. Such a Kshatriya is a very lucky person. So Bhagavan is trying to make him see that this opportunity which has come to him is such a big blessing. And opportunity doesn't come again and again. So there was one husband once, he came back from the office and he knocked the door and the wife was busy somewhere, so she didn't answer. Then he knocked again. So then she said, yeah, who's it? So he says, opportunity. So she says, no, cannot be, because you knocked twice, you know. Opportunity knocks the door only once, and you don't have to let that opportunity go. So Bhagavan is telling Arjuna, this is a chance of your lifetime, you know. This kind of a yuddha, you will not get a chance again, maybe in your lifetime, you know. So in the earlier days, we have heard that the Rajput families, which are all Kshatriyas, that whenever a war was declared, then it was the women of the family which handed over the weapons, the sword and other weapons to the men, put a tika on them and asked them to go for the war and do your duty. They never sent them off with tears in their eyes, you know, because they also had that same Kshatriya blood running in them, you know. Very brave men and very brave women, ever ready to do their duty with enthusiasm. So Bhagavan says here, Yadrachaya, by chance, Upapannam, this has come your way. You know, this you can't let this go. And this if you fight, and by chance you have to sacrifice your life, or even otherwise, if you win the war and you live this life, you know, it is going to take you to the gateway of heaven. This is the promise of the Shastras, that the karma phala of sacrificing one's life for a righteous act, a duty, is going to take that person to the gates of heaven. This is called Veer Swarga in the scriptures. And the person is a martyr. You know, so they salute him here. So much of respect is given to that person who has lost his life for the righteous cause, and then, of course, he will go to heaven. You know, when a person lives his life for dharma, he is going to go to heaven. But when he dies for dharma, he gets a higher level of heaven called Veer Swarga. And Bhagavan says, not only will you go to heaven, the gates of heaven, apavritaha, they're open gates of heaven. It's not that when Arjuna goes to heaven and he finds the gate is closed and there's nobody around there, because very few people go to Swarga, then there is a bell there and he rings that bell, and one scary looking gatekeeper comes and says, kya chahiye? So Arjuna goes, स्वर्ग के चौकीदार भैया, because we call everybody भैया, you know, मैं अर्जुना हूँ, मैं वहाँ पर धर्म युद्ध लड़के आया हूँ और मुझे स्वर्ग की प्राप्ति हुई है, सो आप प्लीज गेट खोल दीजिए. सो ही विल से, कौन अर्जुना, पहले अपना आधार कार्ड और पैन कार्ड दिखाओ. No, that's not going to happen. Ishvara is going to keep the gates of heaven open for you. Bhagavan is promising that. Apavritam, Swargadwaram apavritam, the gate of heaven for a person who does a righteous act and mainly sacrifices his life for that righteous act, will be kept open by Bhagavan. Direct entry into Swarga for you. And then he tells him, Partha, Arjuna, Sukhina Kshatriya. Such a Kshatriya is so lucky. Labhante Yuddha Midrisham. This kind of a war is getting to fight, and here you are dilly-dallying. I don't know what you're talking about. Dharma, adharma ko dharma, and dharma ko dharma you are saying, you know. So on the other side, the Duryodhana and party are also Kshatriyas, and they are also fighting a war. But there is no chance of them Swargadwaram apavritam because they are unrighteous and adharmic people. And the cause for their fight is, unrighteously grabbing somebody else's kingdom out of greed. So there is no chance for them. Actually it is Narkadwaram apavritam. They are definitely going to go to Narka. They can't see that because they can only, they're so greedy. All they can see is this world and its stuff over here, So we have seen earlier that the phala, the karma phala, is of two kinds. It is drishta phala and adrishta phala. Drishta phala is the immediate result we experience after doing an act. Right away we experience that effect, And adrishta phala is the punya and papam, which is going to be accrued in our account and which is going to fructify later in our life. It can fructify in this janma or even later janmas. But drishta phala we are going to experience right now. And drishta phala for a righteous act is so much of satisfaction. That is why we feel so happy when we do even a small good act. Even if we've helped somebody cross the road or any small good act, see how happy we feel? That is drishta phala which we are getting. Right away, so much of satisfaction, And drishta phala for a wrong action, the person doesn't know that. But there's going to be a lot of conflict in the mind of such a person. The peace of mind that person is going to lose, and then that person has to handle that mind with alcohol, drugs and all that, Why are these people struggling with their mind? Because the mind has done, the person has done such act and the mind has got disturbed, Or there are vasanas present from the previous janmas, wrong karmas, because that's the problem. You do a wrong act and the vasana gets left behind. So as far as Arjuna is concerned, his drisht phala is going to be so much of satisfaction. Just seeing that, all the other people are relieved from this Duryodhana's adharmic acts, And the adrishta phala is going to be Swargadwaram apavritam, an open gateway to heaven. And then Bhagavan says, Atha chetva imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tata swadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi. Atha, on the other hand, chet, if, tvam, you, imam, this, dharmam sangramam, this dharma yuddha, na karishyasi, if you do not fight this dharma yuddha, tata, then, swadharmam, your duty, your swadharma, kirtim cha, and ill fame, and your fame, hitva, forfeiting, papam avapsisi, you are going to incur sin. So Bhagavan is saying here that if you do not do this swadharma of yours, if you do not fulfill this duty of yours, not only will you lose your kirti, your fame here, but you will also incur sin. So since Bhagwan had said in the previous shloka, he told Arjuna that you are going to get heaven, if you do this act. It's an open gateway to heaven. So it's quite possible that Arjuna turns around and says that I'm not interested in heaven, and I don't want to kill my very, respectful gurus, my Bhishma and Drona and all my people, and then go to heaven for that. Such a heaven I don't want, where I have to kill my people and go to heaven. So just in case he says that, even if he doesn't say that, if that thought is there in his mind, that why would I want such a heaven, when I have to kill my most respected gurus here? So for that point, Bhagwan is saying that atha chet, on the other hand, in fact this is a warning Bhagwan is giving him, that tvam, you, imam dharmam sangramam na karishyasi, if you do not fight this dharma yuddha, don't just take it lightly, it's got a lot of serious consequences, you can't do what you want to hear as per your understanding, there are consequences to this, So you would not be swadharmam, tata swadharmam kirtim cha hitva, you will be forfeiting your duty and you will lose your fame here in the society, and not only just that, you will incur sin. That means what? You'll go to hell, you're going to go to Naraka only. So don't keep thinking of Swarga, you please think, get ready for this, So as per the Shastra, papam are of two types. It is the sin of commission and the sin of omission, two kinds of paps. When I do something which I am not supposed to do, that is the sin of commission. When I don't do what I am supposed to do, that is the sin of omission. So for the sin of commission, if I think I am too smart, and here I see something and nobody is looking at me, and these desires inside me are very strong to get something from this world, and I go and do something which I am not supposed to do, then please be very sure that you can't get away by that kind of an act, because Bhagwan's creation is a bit too perfect, which people don't seem to be knowing. That is why they are doing what they are doing. Firstly, we can do something by choice is because Bhagwan has given a human being a free will. We have a choice in our action. Animals do not have that choice. They are programmed to function instinctively. We have a choice because of this free will. We can do an action, we may not do it, we can do it the way we want to. Kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyatha va kartum shakyam. We have a choice here. But because God has given us a choice, a free will, He has also put a conscience inside us, which is the knowledge of right and wrong. And for this knowledge, you don't need to be educated. In the remotest tribal area, a tribal person knows what is right and what is wrong, because he's born with this knowledge. This knowledge, everybody, God has already put inside because of the free will He's given us, If Bhagwan had given a free will to a human being and not a conscience, it would be like giving a vehicle without a brakes, so we could go haywire totally. As it is, people are creating with the conscience. They have killed their conscience, that's why they're doing what they're doing, all wrong things here, So we have a conscience, we know what is right and what is wrong. And in spite of that, if we go and do something wrong, knowing very well that this is wrong, I'm not supposed to do it, but if I do, that is going to be sin of commission. It is a karma like this in the Shastras known as Nishiddha karma. It is a prohibited karma, Nishiddha karma. And this is the sin of commission. On the other hand, sin of omission is not doing what I'm supposed to do, So you sit there where you're supposed to speak up courageously, say something, you don't say anything. I'm sitting like a bhigi billi and saying that, no, I didn't say anything. Yeah, you're not saying anything is going to bring you the prasad of papam, So what you're supposed to do is what you're supposed to do. Where you're supposed to speak up, you are supposed to speak up, in a situation, because if you don't speak up, the other people are going to be affected by that. So it is very important to do. Like for Arjuna, he's supposed to fight and he's saying that, no, I will not fight. So this comes in the sin of omission. And such a karma in the Shastra is known as vihit karma. It is an enjoined karma by the Shastras, and the papam of not doing what I'm supposed to do is known as pratyavaya papam. So both the papams, the sin of commission and the sin of omission, the person has to pay for. They have to pay a price for that, And what's the price? In this janma itself, first the trouble is going to start. This life itself will become like a naraka for that person. It is like, for some people, it's like a samsar karagraha, it's like a jail here. It's a suffocating life here. Every breath is a burden for that person here. Why? Some people think, why? I'm so uncomfortable here in this life, It's because of the papam account, And then of course, after death, it is going to be naraka for that person. And when the naraka time gets over, because the Swarga and naraka have a time period, Once that finishes, and if the pap is too much in a person's account, then it's adhogati. The person becomes an animal. And if it's a good, lots of punya papam, it goes to Devloka. And if it is a mishrid papam, mixed between punya and papa, then that is a human body. You get human sharira for that. So, so Bhagwan is reminding Arjuna that you can't get away just by, doing anything here. It is your swadharma to fight this war. You have to fight for keeping it from the point of view of your duty. Otherwise, you're going to incur sin and you will go to hell. So, with this shloka, Bhagwan even finishes the teachings of his dharmic drishti. The philosophical drishti it finished earlier. Over here, the dharmic drishti also finishes, and then he says, Akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya cha kirtihi maranadati richyate. Akirtim, ill fame, cha api, and also, bhutani, all the people, kathayishyanti, katha means story. So kathayishyanti, they're going to talk about you, they're going to cook up stories about you. Te, you, avyayam, endlessly. We've seen this word avyayam for Atma, which means it doesn't change. But in this context, it means endlessly, same thing going on, it doesn't end. So, And they'll go on cooking up stories about you and bring akirti to you, if you don't fight this war. Sambhavitasya is a person who has got so much of honor and respect. He's endowed with so much of honor and respect. Sambhavitasya. Cha akirtihi and akirtihi, bringing akirti, to ill fame to that person. Maranadatya richyate. It will be worse than death for you. So after having explained the philosophical view, the adhyatmika drishti, and then explaining this to Arjuna, why he has to fight this war from the moral, ethical point of view also. Now Bhagavan comes down to the worldly view, the empirical, the pragmatic view, which is called the laukika drishti. So the punya and papam are adrishtam. We can't even see them in microscope or telescope. They are adrishtam. So there are many people who don't believe in all this. What is all this? We don't believe in. And many of them are not even interested in afterlife. What is all that? We don't know about all that. We are interested in this life here and now. Who knows about afterlife, So they are not interested in that. So to have Shraddha in what the Shastra is saying, very, very few people have this Shraddha. And only the Shastras are the pramanam for punya, papa, swarga, naraka and all that. Only. So Bhagavan is telling all this to Arjuna, because you can't get this knowledge from everywhere. The Shastra is the pramana. So Bhagavan is telling him that, okay, if you are not able to accept the philosophical view that all about Atma and Atma Viveka, and you're not even convinced about the moral view, the dharma, adharma viveka, because for you what is adharma is actually dharma, and what is dharma you saying is adharma, so that you are still not convinced about that. But at least think of your social status. If you run away from the battlefield, your name, fame, respect, honor, everything is going to be lost, which you are not able to see. So here in this world, if we see, most of the people are only worried about their social status. All the time, only worried about what? What will people say? What will people say? Log kya kahenge? Log kya kahenge? Like if a child in the family doesn't want to get married, or if a child goes and gets married to somebody the family doesn't approve of, then the main problem which crops up is log kya kahenge, log kya kahenge. And then there are some conservative families where if the child doesn't follow the family culture and traditions, the entire clan boycotts such a family, and then out of shame such a family will stop attending the family gatherings and the temple gatherings, or they don't go anywhere, mainly because of what will people say, not worried about whether the child is right or wrong. All the time what will say. So we've heard this so many times, इसने तो हमारी नाक कटा दी, किसी को मुंह दिखाने लायक नहीं रखा, Why? Because they're so worried about what people are going to say about them, So Bhagavan is telling Arjuna that, Arjuna, you have so much of name and fame. You are the greatest warrior, not just on earth, but also in heaven. Arjuna had fought a lot of wars in Devloka also, So he's the best, And such a person of such reputation, he comes to the battlefield and sees everybody and suddenly decides, no, I'm not going to fight this war. So Bhagavan says, do you know what are the consequences of what you are doing? What are the people going to think? Have you ever given that a thought? So for that he says, Akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam. All these bhutanis, all these people, they will not stop talking about you. They're going to cook up stories about you, avyayam, endlessly, and bring akirti to you. And sambhavitasya, a person who is used to only honor and fame, so much of respect by people, this kind of akirti is a lot of apman, and this apman he is not going to be able to tolerate. It is going to be worse than death. Marnadati richyate. So, for most of the people, their honor, manam, and the family's honor, the name of the family there, it is more important than life itself. We read about this all the time. Children committing suicides, people committing suicides because of apmanam, There are students who are preparing for these competitive examinations, which are really, really very tough, This is a very, very, the seats are so few, and the number of people sitting for the examinations is too huge a number. The child has done his best. The parents have provided for the child. They have made provisions for all that money, the coaching, everything has been done. But unfortunately, the child cannot crack the exam. The child is not able to take such consequences, mainly because what will that apmanam he is not going to be able to tolerate. Everybody wants manam and not apmanam. So there are people, the sensible parents, who start telling the children in advance when they see that this is too passionate about it. They start mentally preparing the child that just in case you don't get through, don't worry, okay? I've seen people like that myself. Because the other side, the flip side is that there are bright chances the child, what will happen now? How will he take this? And many times there are very high expectations from the family. That is such a pressure on the child, So for that they'll go and take a drastic action, So firstly, to not put this kind of pressure on the child, that's not be all end all of life. There are always more opportunities which can come one's way, but there are some parents who don't see that, and they put a lot of pressure on the child. And this apmanam the child is not able to take. So much so small school children, we've heard that the teacher just scolded or slapped the kid in front of the whole class. Next to hear the small kid, I don't know from where they find the means of even committing suicide. This is also many times you think, how does this little kid even know how to commit suicide, But they do that because of apmanam, not able to stand that apmanam. So Bhagwan is warning Arjuna, because he in his present state of delusion is not able to see what is ahead. He is so emotional about all this, he doesn't want to fight this war and his mind is not working, it's deluded totally. So Bhagwan wants him to see, and he's telling him all this so that he can see what's ahead. So and Arjuna is such a famous person, he's used to only fame. He doesn't know what's akirti. So that's why he's not given that a thought also. The thought has not come in his mind. He doesn't know what is akirti, He only knows kirti. He always fame about, everything. He's such a famous person. So Bhagwan is telling him that if you don't fight this war, you get ready to hear people talk about you. Endlessly they're going to cook up stories and talk about you, So ordinary person, nobody bothers. But Arjuna was an extraordinary person. So people's tongues won't stop wagging, And, everything is going to be in the newspaper, the headlines. Anything which Arjuna does always became very famous, Everybody had to talk about. And in these parties and gatherings, all the people need some hot topic to talk about and laugh about, So Arjuna is going to be the butt of everyone's jokes. So he is not able to see that. Bhagwan is trying to make him see all that by saying all this. Then he says, Bhayad Rinad Uparitam Mansyante tvam maharathaha yesham cha tvam bahumato bhutva yasyasi laghavam bhayad, out of fear, ranat is battle, uparatam, withdrawing, mansante, will think, tvam, you, maharathas, these great warriors. So these great warriors which are standing on the opposite side are going to think that you withdrew from the battlefield because of fear. Yesham cha tvam bahumato bhutva, yesham cha, for them up till now, tvam, you, bahumato bhutva, you, they held you in high esteem up till now. Now if you do such an action, yasyasi lagavam, they will all look down upon you. So the same thing Bhagwan is in the shloka, he is explaining further that how apmanam is going to afflict Arjuna if he does not fight this war, if he suddenly withdraws from this war. So Arjuna was considering withdrawing from this battle only because of compassion for his people and because of respect for Bhishma Drona, for his elders, even other elders standing there in the battlefield, not because of fear. Fear was the last thing on his mind. He was such a fearless person. But unfortunately, one's intentions are never visible on the face. People have something inside and outside they portray something else which is so difficult to figure out. So this kind intention of Arjuna nobody can ever know because it is an intention, you know. So here Bhagwan is trying to tell him because of that, and if he withdraws, then this world is such, you know, over here, that at the drop of a hat, for a small thing, people get a topic to talk about, you know. They laugh at the person, they'll make fun of that person, they'll gossip about that person, just given a chance. You know why people gossip is because gossiping makes them feel elated about themselves, makes them feel good about themselves. If I say that this person is so stupid and foolish, that means I'm not foolish because that person is stupid and foolish. So that makes me feel good about myself. You know? So like if you know there are two lines drawn parallelly of the same length, and somebody says that you increase the length of the top line without touching it, how do you do it? By decreasing the lower line. If you decrease the length of the lower line, automatically the upper line length has increased, you know. So same things happening in this world. To increase your self-esteem, you know, to how you look upon yourself, you have to accomplish a lot in this world, which is difficult for most of the people. So the easier way to feel better about yourself is gossip about people, you know. So, you know, here the reason when they gossip is revealing so much about how they look at their own selves. We are self-conscious beings, we are conscious of our own selves, we have a self-opinion about our own selves. Only human beings have this, because we can achieve moksha by the self-conscious. Otherwise, how can you achieve moksha? If I look at myself, only will I be able to reach moksha, no? So that is the reason Bhagwan has given self-consciousness to a human being. Know who you are, you know. So who I am is not $1 million question, it's a $1 million life question. And for that Bhagwan has given self-consciousness to a person, but this self-consciousness has created so much of problem. They don't worry about moksha, but they all other problems. They've got complexes, jealousies, because then they are in competition with everybody else, and low self-opinion. They look down upon themselves, and because they're looking down upon themselves, the easiest way is to talk about others. You'll feel elated about yourself. If you only respect yourself, can you respect anybody else? It is that deep to understand, You can make out the character of a person just by seeing what he laughs at. This needs a lot of understanding and knowledge. Just at the point that person is laughing is revealing so much about that person's character. So this is all a complicated affair which most of the people do not know, So this is why Bhagwan is telling all this to Arjuna. And on top of that, if he didn't fight this war, if he just left the battlefield, the Kauravas will be the happiest people, Duryodhana and party, Because firstly, they would have won the war without fighting the war. He is withdrawing from so they have won the war, And on top of that, they are going to get a hot topic to talk about. All the time they are going to make fun of Arjuna. So fame always comes with a curse, Famous people, even if they sneeze, it's going to become news. All these celebrities, they can't move around casually, because all their crazy fans keep mobbing them, and they have no privacy in life. Everything they do and say becomes news. And Arjuna is the most famous person. So whatever he is going to do, people are going to talk about, So for that, Bhagwan says here that you think that these Maharathas which are standing here on the opposite side, they are going to say, Bhayad Ranat Uparatam, that you ran away from the battlefield because of fear. Like he came, saw us, we brave people, and saw the strong army. He got scared and he ran away. So they are not going to say that, oh, Arjuna is such a nice person that he didn't want to destroy his family, and that when he saw that there are a couple of generations standing here and all of them are going to get wiped out, he decided not to fight, which was the fact. That is the reason why Arjuna didn't want to fight. He hadn't thought about this up till now, that when he saw so many generations standing there, he realized that, oh my God, this entire Khandan, the Kutumba is going to go now. So I will stand responsible for it because I'm here, I'm going to kill them. So Bhagwan is saying, no, they'll not. They are going to say that you ran away because of fear. And then, Yesham cha tvam bahumato bhutva. And up till now, all these people were actually scared of you and they held you in such high esteem. Mata means thinking and Bahumata means thinking highly. So they have been thinking, so they consider you, they're in high esteem. That's Arjuna, he's a great warrior, he's such a brave warrior, Bhutva. Bhutva means in Bhutkal. Present is Bhavat and future is Bhavishya. So Bhutva, till now they were holding you in such high esteem, and suddenly you decide not to fight this war. Yasyasi laghavam. They're going to look down upon you. Laghu means small, lightweight, like featherweight. If you blow something which will fly away, that's laghu, So they're going to say that ये क्या चीज़ है, ये तो हमारे बाएं हाथ का खेल है. People boast like that, no? हमारे टक्कर का नहीं है, ये बाएं हाथ का खेल है, So they are going to all talk like that. So you please get ready to hear all this about you. You're going to be highly, highly disgraced if this wrong decision of yours is going to lead to a lot of trouble. Arjuna is not able to see, so Bhagwan is telling him all this. This is all the worldly problem which he is going to face later on. So this is what he says, and then Avach Vadansha Bahun vadanshcha bahun vadishyanti tavahitaha yanti tavahitaha nindantastav samarthyam indantastav samarthyam tato dukkhatarannu kim tato dukkhatarannu kim. Avachya vadansh. Vadansh means words. Avachya, which a person cannot repeat again. Such horrible words. Avachya vadansh. Bahun, whole lot of them, a lot of them. Vadishyanti, will talk. Tav, your ahitahas, your enemies. A friend is a hita, who wants your well-being. Is somebody who wants your hit is a friend, and one who doesn't want your hit is an enemy. So your ahitahas, your enemies, are going to say such horrible things about you which a person cannot even repeat again. Nindantastaha tav samarthyam, they will do your ninda, especially about your samartha, your capacities, your prowess, because you are so famous. Whatever is so famous, people are jealous of that, and then they are going to catch hold of that point, and then they are going to talk about it. Tata, then Bhagavan saying, Tata dukkhatarannu kim, is there any greater sorrow than this, to hear this kind of apman from every side? So Arjuna has not thought about it, Bhagavan's pointing out this, So this Duryodhana has been ruling Hastinapur illegitimately, and he knows that. And the people of Hastinapur also know that. Yet they were siding up with Duryodhana because this shrewd person, like these shrewd politicians, would take care of them, financially, all welfare methods and all that, well taken care of. They won't let you open your mouth. Uska muh band kar diya with giving stuff, So they're on Duryodhana's side because of that. But if these people came to know that Arjuna has withdrawn from the battlefield because he doesn't want to kill them, he wants to save them, then there were bright chances that they could revolt against Duryodhana. And Duryodhana knew that because he's so shrewd, he's so cunning, So before such a thing would happen, he would not take any chances. He would start spreading rumors already, That's how so much of politics and strategies involved even in ruling kingdoms, just like these politicians do. So he would start spreading rumors and talk ill of Duryodhana so that these people don't get a chance to talk, to revolt and all against. So keeping that in mind, Bhagwan is telling Arjuna some practical facts, because Arjuna is not able to see that because he is so overcome by emotions, And for that, Bhagwan is using some strong words to make him see what is ahead, what will be the consequences of this wrong decision of his. So for that he says, Avachya vadansh bahun vadintanti tavahitaha, your enemies are going to say such horrible things about you which another person cannot repeat. They'll be unutterable, unmouthable words endlessly. Bahun, they'll go on talking like this about you. And the advantage those people have is they're the ruling party. So Arjuna couldn't go and sort them out, for saying all this nonsense. They're ruling the kingdom, so they'll say anything they want to. So this is going to be not possible for anybody to hear that kind of filth, they are capable of talking. This is what those people do. And they will do the ninda of your samartha. Arjuna was so proud of his samartha, his capacities, his prowess, the best in archery and warfare. He was the best. At that point only they're going to talk catch hold of, and they will do whole lot of ninda. So Bhagavan is asking, is there any greater dukh than this, to hear this kind of apman, to get this kind of apman? So all this about how people face apman and how they respond to it is spoken many a times in mythology a lot, Like in Ramayana, when Kekai asked King Dashratha to give that boon which he owed her, that send Bhagwan Ram to the forest for 14 years because she wanted her son Bharat to become the king. So King Dashratha absolutely did not agree. He said he could sacrifice anything, but he cannot send his son away to the forest. There's no chance. But Kekai, this is what she wanted, instigated by that mantra of hers, So she kept on, but eventually she thought of one thing and she said, if you don't, then you will not be keeping your word. You have given me the word which you will not be keeping. Keeping the word in the Shastra is known as Vakya Paripalanam. It is a big deal, So in those days, that time, we don't need legal papers to sign off, this is what it is. No, it was not required. The word was enough. Pran jai par vachan na jai. They would rather give up their life than give up their words. It was that important to them, And this entire Raghu Vansha maintained this Vakya Paripalanam. Such a blotless glory they maintained, The entire Vamsha was like that. So Kekai knew this, So she told Dashratha that you will bring such a bad name to the family. You will bring the blot on this blotless Raghu Vansha if you don't keep your word. You will have to listen to what I am saying. That apman, when King Dashratha heard, he relented, and he let Bhagwan go. But he never got over that grief of sending Bhagwan Ram away for 14 years. In fact, he died because of this grief. And unfortunately for a king like King Dashratha, who had 4 sons who were gems, no one was there during his death time. Not a single boy was there. This is prarabdha. You people say, oh, this, that, I have 4 sons. You don't know what's going to happen, who will be there. So this is all karmas are going to bring the situations, So he couldn't take that apman. Then it was that Kamsa, Bhagwan Krishna's mama. He had heard that his sister Devaki's 8th son, which was Bhagwan Krishna, is going to kill him. Somebody had told him. So he had put her in the jail, and one day he just decided to kill her. So he had already raised the sword to kill her when Vasudeva, Bhagwan Krishna's father, suddenly told him that you will be the first man who goes down in the history to have killed one's sister. Then that apman made him think, and put the sword down. So for all the humans, manam is so important, and apmanam they can't withstand. And especially a Kshatriya, they have a very powerful rajasic ego, So for them, insult meant yuddha. So many wars were fought because of apman, We have read so many stories, like when Raja tells another Raja that I want to marry your daughter, and that Raja says no, she's going to marry some other prince, then immediately the war starts. Why, if you ask him? No, he's insulted me, he didn't give me his daughter when I asked him. Big insult. So yuddha, fight, always keep fighting. So Kshatriyas have that kind of a rajasic ego, very quickly they would feel the apman. So Bhagwan is tapping on that, So he's using this weakness of a Kshatriya to tell this to Arjuna. Tata dukkhataranu kim? Will there be any greater sorrow than this, to face this kind of apman? Like the whole world talking about you, using filthy words about you, will you be able to tolerate this? And on top of that, it is you who has decided to fight this war. You and the other Pandavas, after all the non-violent methods were tried, you decided, okay, now we're going to fight it out in the battlefield. This is enough, and we'll put an end to adharma. You asked me to become the charioteer, your charioteer. I have become your charioteer, and I am here. All the armies have been mobilized. All the armies have, from here, there, from all parts of India, they made that Kauravas army and Pandavas army. This is how they had to mobilize the people. Now we are standing in the battlefield, and the conches have been blown and everything, and now you're saying, I don't want to fight the war. Do you know the consequences of such a decision of yours? You are not seeing what is going to happen, how people are going to talk about. So the Shastras say, Manas ekam, Vachas ekam, Karmani ekam, Mahatmanaha, Manas anyat, Vachas anyat, Karmani anyat, Duratmanaha. That for a person, when what he thinks, what he says, and what he does is aligned, that means he is doing what he says and he's saying what he thinks, that person is a Mahatma. But when a person, Manas anyat, Vachas anyat, when he thinks something, he says something, and he does something as per convenience, conveniently as per the situation, that person changes. He's saying something, doing something, whatever it is, for his own benefit. He's saying, either mera idhar ban raha hai, you say this, then this will benefit me. That person is a Duratmanaha, So Bhagavan knows Arjuna is a Mahatma. He's so righteous. He wouldn't do anything wrong. But presently he is in the grip of samsara. He's so attached. And this raga, shoka, moha, has confused him, and he doesn't know what he is doing. So if he doesn't listen to what Bhagavan says and he takes a wrong decision, then everybody is going to call him a Duratma. They're going to talk avach vadansh bahum. So in this shloka, Bhagavan is trying to tell him, from the worldly standpoint of view, why Arjuna must fight the war. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti.
シャンティシャンティシャンティ Hari Om. Hari Om.